Hello and welcome to the Focus Hoops WNBA show. My name is Darren Paul, and as always, super excited to be on the internet talking about the WNBA for the final time this year, this season, episode 14. And we are going to wrap up 2020. We are going to review every team's season. And even though Mike Morris says, you must be mad if you're thinking about doing that, we're going to have a little peek at the year 2021. Joined, as always, by Manchester basketball royalty herself, co-host of the Kaz and Daz show, launching next Thursday. It's Kaz Bullock. Kazzy B, how are you?
Hello. I'm good. Thank you, Darren. Looking forward to wrapping up the season. And also, what do we get after that? We get some Eurobasket. We get some British basketball. We've got loads of women's basketball coming.
There's so much basketball coming up. And do you know what? I just want to address a very short dialogue I got into with somebody on Twitter the other day. Nothing too major, but they were like, oh, college ball's back in 43 days or something like that. And that's good for you. If you like college basketball, enjoy it. But I was like, yeah, but do you know what? We got European basketball right now. Right now.
Yeah. You don't need to wait. You can watch it.
Yeah, and the response was, that's over there, but college basketball's here. At a mindset I do not understand. They are literally the best athletes on the planet playing the sport that you love.
And the team that you support in the WNBA, wouldn't you want to follow that through, see what they're doing in the WNBA off-season as well?
You'd have thought so. I don't know. I find that a very strange attitude mindset to have. But then maybe that's the British basketball way in whatever this is. Because, we have a league that we love, but I don't think we can ever profess to claim it's the best league on the planet. I mean, some people might, and, fair enough. I rate it. So we are used to looking towards the WNBA, the NBA, EuroLeague, Eurobasket, all of those domestic competitions, except for Eurobasket, obviously, that have, the creme de la creme. So maybe we're used to looking away for that, and Americans are so used to having such high-level content in their country.
That's true, and obviously the college basketball scene in the States is very high level, isn't it? So maybe people see that as a step kind of below the WNBA rather than the European leagues, which I wouldn't
arguably
agree
a step
with.
up from. Have you seen that Russian team whose name always escapes me? Oh, go on.
UMMC Ekaterinburg.
That's the one.
Is it?
Ekaterinburg.
Is that the correct pronunciation? That's a cheat team. That's a cheat code.
It's disgusting. Let's just run through the Ekaterinburg roster of WNBA players. Ali Quigley, Courtney Vandersloot, Jonquel Jones, baby, woo! I love Jonquel Jones, so good. It's
great.
Nobody from them. Maria Vadiva. I hope I pronounced your name correctly.
For LA.
Just Brittany Griner. No biggie.
Anyone else?
Just Brianna Stewart.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I mean, who wants to watch Brianna Stewart? Do you know what I mean? Oh, Emma Meeseman.
I mean,
on one team.
2 finals MVPs.
Yes.
The last 2 finals MVPs. Who's beating that team? Like, they also have Alba Torres, who's one of the Spanish players, one of the best players Spain's produced. How does that team lose a game? I don't see how that happens. They won by 40 the other night, and they only had Quigley Vandersloot and Jonquel Jones, I think.
Only. All right. What about this? Familia Schio, Natasha Cloud. I thought you had more WNBA players than I actually. They do. They're just not on this list. Surely.
I think some of them, because they're coming over late, they haven't They haven't all been updated super
and
quick.
Steph Dolson. So maybe just the two. Maybe just the two. I mean, that's a fearsome duo. See that Steph Dolson picture doing the rounds? Oh my god, I've got to find it. I don't know how well this is going to show up. This is not vintage from us by any means, but let's just.
I feel like there's some Natasha Cloud influence as well in this situation.
I think it was. So she set fire to. She dunked her finger in some sambuca, set it on fire, freaked out, and popped it in her mouth. Next day, her Facebook would say, or her Instagram, whatever, was like mistakes were made, basically. Right, we're not here to talk about Steph Dolson setting her finger on fire, as much as that amused me. And hey, you want top women's basketball content or top basketball content about women who play basketball? I don't know. We'll work on the lingo. We will for you starting next week. Shall we do it? Shall the gimmick live on?
Let's do it.
Oh, there it is. Oh, I do like that. Still like that gradient effect. It's a good effect.
It's a good graphic.
Hey, thanks, buddy. All right, let's just dive into it. So, 2020 WNBA season, bottom of the pile. The New York Liberty, 2-20 New York Liberty. They missed the playoffs. I mean, they won 2 games. What do we make of their year?
It was an interesting year. It was, I think, before the season, there was obviously expectations because of the number 1 draft pick in Sabrina Ionescu that they brought in, and I think people were expecting more than 2 wins certainly, and maybe even a possible playoff push, just because that's the kind of impact a player like Sabrina can have. Obviously, she got injured in her 3rd game, so we never really got to see that team that were going to work like that. And I was reading something with Walt Hopkins, who was saying kind of it was never really about this year. It's about the future, with an eye to building a championship team in the future. This year was to work out who fits together, who fits the system, build an identity as a team, which they wanted to do as a 3-point shooting team, which they did. They were, I think, second. They took the second most 3-point attempts. They weren't making them, but he was saying that's fine. We were getting the open looks. We can work on the shooting. So I guess they take this year as kind of a who fits, who worked, which are the rookies, which are the players that we've got, do we want to keep and build around, and which do we maybe want to use as a trade piece to maybe get some veterans in, or get some more draft picks, or to flip it up a bit. So some of the games that they played, they were quite hard to watch. Some of them, there was some quite big blowouts, but they did gel towards the end of the season. Yeah, they did seem to start finding an identity. But it was a bit of a rocky road for them. It was good to see Clarendon take a bit of a leadership role this season, and I like watching Amanda Zawibi was great, and they had Jasmine Jones on the all rookie team as well. So they had some positives, they had some pluses, but I think overall it was just a step into where they want to be eventually.
Yeah, I liked some of what I saw from Kia Nurse, but I don't know if she always had her. I don't know if we can say that she had her best season in her career so far. But yeah, I mean, it was always tough when you're coming in with 7 rookies. Was it in the end?
Yeah,
7 rookies. Yeah, and so the incredible, the wonderful, the legendary Howard Megdal over at the next Hoops has done an amazing work putting together a salary cap report on the WNBA. Do you know what? I'm just going to slap that in the comments now, because it is well worth a look. Well worth your time to just go through if you're a fan of a WNBA team, or you're just interested in it. And Yeah, they've got a lot. Excuse me. They've got a lot of players coming back next year. They've got some interesting decisions to make with a couple of players not coming back next year. So Kia Paris not coming back. Amanda Zawi B is not. I believe she's a free agent.
She'll be in demand, I think. There'll be a few people after her, a few teams after her.
Yeah, I mean, she is the standout, like potential free agent of this team. And is there a destination that you would like to see Amanda Zawi be in? I mean, is it back in New York? Is that what you would like to see?
Yeah, I think I'd either like to see her in New York or something. I think that I thought in the middle of the season was maybe in Dallas or Chicago, a team that I feel like was lacking maybe a bit of an inside presence. I don't know how that would fit. I don't know if it's even possible, but maybe a team like that needs some rebounding. But obviously Dallas have got Satu, and she's going to grow and develop into that, so she's probably there. That's her position there, so that's probably not likely in Dallas. But Chicago, maybe.
Chicago, maybe. I mean, based on what you saw, maybe this is an unfair question. Does Sabrina Ionescu elevate this team sufficiently last season? She went down like 5 minutes into game 3, yeah. I think it was. So does she take this team to another level sufficient where they are not comfortably bottom of the table?
This season or going forward?
2020.
2020. Indiana finished second to bottom, didn't they? How many wins did Indiana have? 6 and 16. Yes, I'm going to say she would have done.
So you're telling me that who wins above replacement?
Yeah, as we learned last week.
As we spent so long looking at baseball stats last week and the money. Anyway, you're telling me that she's worth best part of 6 wins on her own?
4 more wins to go from 2 to 6. So 4 or 5 wins, yeah.
Okay, yeah, I see what you're saying.
So I think you get 4 or 5 wins because if you look at, so there were some blowouts, so some really bad blowouts, but there were a few games where they were losing it in the fourth quarter. And when you've got someone, obviously Sabrina's a rookie, but the experience that she has and the basketball IQ that she has, she's maybe someone that can kind of keep the team together. You saw them kind of almost fall apart a little bit, like they were a bit like, oh, we're not really sure what to do. I think she's the kind of player that in those situations, she's like, it's all right, I've got this, we've got this. This is what we need to do. And I think she would have contributed 5 or 6 more wins.
Also, they did have that game against Las Vegas where, I mean, it was the scorer, whoever does the clock, time. Basically, the timekeeper, basically decided that game, which was unfortunate. And they had a couple of close games and just really interesting games. I actually quite, as they got used to one another, and as I think Clarendon's confidence grew further, not saying that she's not a confident player, because obviously she is, but as it grew that little bit more throughout the season and that comfort with her teammates, they were quite fun to watch. They were quite nice to watch. And the Seafoam, such a nice uni.
It's nice.
It is nice.
And then you think next year as well, so they're going to have Asia Durr back and maybe Hanzu. So that they've got players that are coming in and just going to hopefully carry on where they left off.
The future is I think it's very interesting. I'm not ready to say it's bright, but I will say it is very interesting for the New York Liberty.
So they have. Sorry, I saw earlier they've got their best odds to get the top draft pick again. So that's maybe.
Well, yeah, they should do. They won 2 games.
Oh yeah, but they could maybe flip that into a vet that might want to play with Sabrina.
Very good point, potentially. Sorry, I'm just grabbing. Oh, there it is. Just grabbing something to take a note on. What is this? Oh. All right. My apologies. This is real. Hey, a dip behind the curtain. Am I going to edit that for the podcast? No, I'm not. What is your letter grade for New York this season?
I didn't like doing this. I found this really hard, but I've gone C-. But it's hard. It's really hard to do this because why did I pick C-? Yes, because I did.
See, Okay. C minus seems reasonable because I don't think like if they were a fully fledged team, if they had everybody and they went 2-20,
Yeah.
ungradable.
Yeah.
I'd go U. Like, and I'm being completely honest. I'm not being unfair on anybody. I'd go U. But you lose the absolute centerpiece of your organization.
Yeah.
Which is ridiculous because she played 2 games in the WNBA. But you've lost that foundational element and you had to just switch it up on the fly and just go, right, we're going with what we have with a lot of very talented players, but it's all been built for this is the UNESCO experience,
Yeah.
and they were robbed of that. So
Yeah.
I will allow you C minus. We move on to Indiana Fever, 6-16, missed the playoffs. Not, I don't think what people were expecting from Indiana. I don't think 6-16 was on the cards, but we don't have Mr. Hanson Morris to tell us what we all predicted them in the over-under at the start of the season. A bad year.
Yeah.
I don't know if I can go as far as saying it was worse than New York's because New York won 2 games. But where they should be and where they finished, I think that's a huge disparity.
Yeah.
Like, you've got some really nice players on this team. And I mean, you've got Candice Dupree.
Mm-hmm. Free agent again.
Like, I don't want to say wasted a season of Candice Dupree, but I'm thinking it real hard right now. Like, what are we doing? Where do we go from there? They waived Betnaja Laney. That's a grade off.
That was a mistake.
You know, player FocusHoops player of this most improved, the league's most improved. Maybe in our just general story of the season, maybe.
All defensive team as well.
All defensive team, just a superstar. And waived. I don't know. I don't get it. Yeah, not a good season at all. What did you make of it?
Yeah, I agree, but in a way, I sort of feel like they were a little bit hard done by circumstances, because they were the last team to get to the Wubble. I think they were about a week later than some of the others because they were the team or something in Indiana was going through a COVID protocol, and then obviously they'd lost Lauren Cox for the majority of the season. She was overcoming COVID, and she sort of wasn't up to what they were expecting her to be. Erica Wheeler, they were waiting for her to join. She was in the Wubble quarantining or just outside quarantining, and she was never able to join them. So I think some of those things will have played a part because they weren't the team that they were kind of expecting to be playing as. It's no fault of their own that those things happened. But they had a new coach in Marianne Stanley. They had a couple of good games where you really saw them kind of clicking. Like that win over Seattle was a really big one. Julie Ollerman had a really good rookie season. Tiffany Mitchell and Kelsey Mitchell are always really good. Sierra McCowan, similar season to a previous one, but there was nothing kind of massively stood out about them to me. And like you say, almost a wasted season for Candice Dupree. She's such a talent that you don't want to just have a season like this. And she's a free agent. Does she choose to stay? Does a contending team want to pick her up? And Indiana kind of rebuild a little bit again. But yeah, I don't think they kind of hit the expectations that were there for them before the season.
Yeah, let's talk about Candice Dupree. Is there any way, if you could pick her a team to play on again? I think we might do this just for every team. Pick a player and shift them or not. Where would you like her to be playing in 2021 season?
I think her in LA would be interesting, depending who is back.
We knew you were going to say this. What is this?
because LA kind of needed something a bit more, and she would be a bit more. But I wonder if they would go for someone maybe a bit younger, a bit earlier in their, not super early in their career, but not maybe as what's the right word? Advanced as that sounds terrible. As kind of slippery.
How many years service? 15 years of service.
Yeah. So they maybe want to look a little bit shorter than that.
I want to see her on a contender.
Yeah, I do. Maybe
I want to see her on a contender. Maybe like a Dallas Wings, real
contenders.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd like to see her on a contender, and I think on a contending team, like maybe an LA, maybe a Phoenix, maybe not Phoenix with Skylar Diggins-Smith and Taurasi, but on one of those teams, I think she could really add quite a bit. And I'd like to see her on one of the on a team like that. But maybe maybe she wants to stay in Indiana. Maybe she wants to win in Indiana. Some players like to.
I'm talking myself into her playing for Dallas.
It'd be good. It'd be good, and I think that her character as well would be really good for like a team with a lot of young players on as well. In Dallas, I think she'd be a really good.
Vegas.
Coach. Would you have her and McCautry?
True.
As well. Maybe they're a bit too similar. Maybe.
Yeah. Good point. Well made. Nicely presented. Also, would you be able to make it work with the salary situation? Again, if you want to see that salary information, the next has you absolutely covered. Superstar work again from the main man. We have comments. Good works, peeps. That's from Pablo Cheeks. Cheers, Pab. Appreciate it. He obviously famous basketball commentator in his own right, hosts a couple of podcasts. Radio show. He's going to come back on this at some point. Careful with the grading system. You don't want a Surrey Scorchers situation. It is what it is. Kaz, let's hear your grade for the Fever.
So I gave them a C. Because it's hard, this.
What's hard?
grading them. Right. I gave them a C because they were, there were flashes. There were flashes, and like that Seattle game, and some of the potential that they've got. And they started off pretty well. They just veered off a bit of a cliff towards the end of the season. They were, I think throughout the first half of the season, they were up in the top 8.
Yeah, I've got to go C-. Do you know what? Being, C-, like, because where they should have been, or at least very much could have been, and where they ended up.
Yeah.
And there were mitigating factors, so maybe I can see a C. That's fair because, we've spoken about New York in the same way, but mitigating factors. You're watching out there, listening, live, on demand, whichever. Let us know. How do you think? Do you agree with Kaz Bullock, or is Kaz Bullock being just brutally harsh? What do you make of how every team did? Let us know in the comments. We will get your comments on the show. Kaz Bullock's favorite team, the Atlanta Dream. Explain again why I say these things.
Because Kennedy Carter is just awesome. She's such a fun, exciting player to watch, and she's going to be the face of Atlanta for years to come. And they're just going to be such an exciting team with her, Courtney Williams, Bernard Delaney, whoever else you want to bring in, Renee Montgomery coming back, Tiffany Hayes coming back. They're exciting. They're fun and fast, and they play fast. I like that. I like that as a team.
They are looking for a little bit. Sorry, I'm again looking through the free agency or looking at their contract situation for next season. No Betnaj Laney next year, for example, though I think she's saying? She's going to give them the first pick or the first chance at getting her first dibs. But yeah, quite a few players being lost next season. But I love the roster that they're building. I think
Yeah.
it's really interesting. I think it's really exciting. We've got Kennedy Carter, Betnaja Laney potentially coming back. I mean, I can't see how they don't bring her back and make her a real focal point of this team.
Yeah.
Sixth woman, maybe first off the bench, maybe a starter. C-Will, E-Will, Shakina Strickland. I'll be interested to see if Glory Johnson, because Glory Johnson, I believe, is Glory Johnson. Will she be back for next season? Will Blake Dietrich? Sorry. So some interesting conversations to be had with Atlanta. I think they had a better season than was predicted pre-season. They played in some very entertaining games. They lost Kennedy Carter for how many games did they lose Kennedy Carter
6
for?
games.
6 games. Yeah, 6 games in the end. Which, I mean, that's mega.
In a 22-game season.
In a 22-game season, that is a bit of a killer. The more I think about it, the more I look at this team and look at what they did. If she stays fit and healthy, do you know what?
Hey, this is what I was saying. She was taking them to the playoffs before this.
I think she may have been. Let's. Are we gonna? Whoa! Chester Donnelly's come in with a question. Chester, I see you, I respect you, and I'll be back in a moment with the answer to that question. Now, let's pick a person. Let's pick Betnaja Laney. I think because she's a free agent. Would we like to see her in a different situation, or do we want to see her with the dream? Okay.
I want to stay with Atlanta. She is build around her, Courtney Williams and Kennedy Carter. She's so good. She was on most improved player, all defensive team. She was fantastic. She was so good. Keep her. They would be stupid to let her go. Atlanta, you'd be stupid to let her go.
You've been told, Atlanta. Yeah, I want to see them bring that, like you say, that core back, and let's see if they've got draft picks and see what they can do there. No, give Betnaja Laney like lots of money, please.
Everything.
She more than deserves it. Letter grade, please.
So I gave them a C+ because they had the 10-game losing streak. Again, circumstances were a little bit against them because Courtney Williams, Glory Johnson, and Kalani Brown were all stuck in the COVID protocol, so missed quite a few games. And it took them a while to click, but when they clicked, it worked. It was good. But that 10-game losing streak was a bit messy.
Do you want to know what my score is?
Wow.
It's a B-.
Oh,
B-. Talking to them at the start of the season, they were like, the Vegas thinks we're going to be bottom of the league.
Yeah.
And
they missed the playoffs by a game.
Yeah. They absolutely showed out. They played well above where we expected them. I can't grade them super high because, again, they didn't make the playoffs and we have to reward success. But this is where people thought they were going to be, where they ended up. They had a really interesting year. This huge what if of Kennedy Carter, the explosion of Betnaja Laney, the Williams Strickland combination. It's exciting times. They had a wonderful season. And, hey, they were doing God's work off of the court as well, trying to get rid of that heinous owner of theirs. So huge respect, all the respect in the world to them for that. So, no, I have no complaints in giving them a B-. I think that is reasonable. Shall we answer, Chester?
Yeah. See, I felt like if I'd gone for an A, you'd have said I was being a bit biased.
Well, I would have done because I'd have been right. Chester Donnelly asks, is this the last Focus Hoops WNBA show? What will you follow next? Or what will you follow next? That's correct.
What a great question.
That is a great question. I'm so glad you asked it, Chester. Because, yes, this is the last WNBA show for this year. Don't you worry. We'll be back in 2021 and the odd periodical little pre-season little run-in. We'll have a little draft coverage. We might even try and cover it live if they bother to show it in this country. Anyway, Chester, as you've asked so kindly. Let me just scooch down out of there. We're going to be launching a brand new show on the Focus Hoops and the Split Focus Sports Podcast Network. It is the Kaz and Daz Show with myself, Daz, and of course, Kaz Bullock, Manchester basketball royalty. I did nearly falsely attribute to London Net. Don't know why. Yeah, and that is going to start next week. It is going to be an hour and a half. It's going to be amazing, but it's going to be 60 to 90 minutes every single Thursday in your ears and in your faces, dedicated to women's professional basketball and amateur basketball all over this fine planet that we live on. Obviously, a lot of focus going to be given over to the British game, WBBL, the WNBL, obviously Focus Hoops, once again bringing you every home Anglia-Ruskin women's game, subject to change, that there is this season. Loads of coverage of WBBL. We're going to have WNBL players on. We're going to have WBBL players on. We're going to have international basketball players on being interviewed. Who knows? We may even get a little bit of WNBA action as well. You can be a part of that. As always, of course, comments, listening, sharing it out there. We build the Kaz and Daz Show to be the biggest thing in women's basketball in this country, or basketball played by women in this country. Then who knows? Who's stopping us? Absolutely nobody. Chester, get on board with it. You're going to love it. The Kaz and Daz Show. And it's launching next week. And it's called the Kaz and Daz Show because Kaz and Daz are going to be on it every week. But don't you worry. You're thinking, I really like Mike Hansen Morris. He's a top bloke. Don't you worry. We are going to be working to get Mikey on this show. You want a bit of Greg? You want a bit of Ish? We're going to try and get him involved. We're going to see what can be done. I think you're going to like what we're able to do. Talking to players just today about getting them involved, interviewed the biggest names in the sport in this country. Let's get after it. Kaz and Daz. So that, Chester, is what comes next. We've got a question. We've got a question and a half from Mr. Niall Gray, commentator of the Surrey Scorchers. If I may say, one of the finest commentators in basketball. He says, Pat Summitt was one of the all-time great college coaches, purely theoretical, but how do you think she would have done in the WNBA? Can I just start off with, the Lady Vols need to have the Baby Blues back in their uniforms. It's a disgrace that they don't. Kaz, I'm going to throw this one over to you. What do you think? Purely hypothetical, of course, but how do you think she'd have gone?
Yeah, I mean, I think she'd have done amazing. Her record speaks for itself, doesn't she? So obviously, one of the greatest college coaches of all time. She knows her players. She knows how to get the best out of them. And I think, yeah, had she been given the opportunity, had that arisen, I think she would have been fantastic. Now, where would she have coached would have been an interesting one. I would have liked to see her. LA. I like to see people in LA, but I think maybe she got to coach Candace Parker. Yeah, I think she'd have done a fantastic job, and it would have been really cool to see.
I completely agree. Yeah, without question for me, she'd have been an incredible WNBA coach, and maybe come over to the pro-European game as well. Listen, right? We talked you through the absolute all-star laden UMMC Ekaterinburg. I mean, all-star team. They need an all-star coach. Do you know what I'm saying? So who knows? She would have been unbelievable. Unbelievable in the WNBA. Great question, Niall. Really appreciate it. Appreciate you being involved. Pablo Cheeks asks, WBBL coverage coming soon? You know it. You know it. Starting next Thursday. He follows up with, I hear the Mystics are pretty good. All right, Kaz, bottle up. Okay, save it, all right, because I don't want you burning through all the good material before the Kaz and Daz show kicks off next week. But yes, very good. And Chess Donnelly, excellent, thank you. Big up women's elite women's sport. Pablo Cheeks asks a question that I don't know an answer to. Why did she not get the opportunity?
I don't know the answer to that actually. Maybe she didn't want to. Maybe she wanted to stay.
Yeah,
I mean,
don't forget, like, college basketball is a huge business. It's a huge industry. So maybe that was a better situation for her. Now, let's continue this. We're going to do one more team, and then we're going to have a very quick break where we hear from our partners, Notch. Don't forget to check them out. Check out their new basketball collection down in the comment or down in the description below this video. The Dallas Wings, the 8-14 Dallas Wings, who somehow, against all the odds, nearly made the playoffs and then didn't make the playoffs. And then yesterday, parted company with their head coach, Brian Agler, two-time WNBA coach, two-time ABA coach. I think I've got that wrong again, but it was the precursor women's league to the WNBA. Won it twice. I don't know where to begin. Obviously, a very young roster, one of the youngest rosters in the WNBA. I think the Aces keep trying to claim that they've got one of the young, I don't know. Very young roster, bunch of rookies. It was all on the shoulders of Arika Gumbawale yet again this season. It's tough. It's a tough grade. I'm personally, on a very personal and maybe a little bit biased point of view, I'm kind of gutted they didn't make the playoffs. But I think that would have been very much a welcome to the first round, goodbye from the first round sort of situation. What do you think?
Yeah, because it would have been I think we were saying last week, it would have been against Phoenix. It would have been a tough call. But hey, the playoff experience is playoff experience. So maybe it's something they could have used. They were a fun team to watch this year. I think we said at the start of the year, they're going to score a lot. They're going to be fast. They're going to be fun. They might not win loads of games. I think, were they perhaps predicted to be one of the bottom teams as well? So I think they exceeded people's expectations. Arike leading the league in scoring.
Yes.
Like Satu, when she kind of got into a bit of a rhythm, she had a few injuries, so she was out with a few games, but she had a great season. Like she had a really strong season, and she is showing out in Turkey at the moment. So next year, again, it's another team that's building. It's a young team that's building. And Agler maybe as the coach to coach a young team. Maybe there were some questions around that because he's kind of known as a bit more of a veterans coach.
Yeah.
Not always been on teams with the younger players. So maybe that was an interesting fit there. But it'll be good to see where they go next. I just felt like they needed a big, some more of an inside presence to counteract their shooting.
Sound like a Liz Cambage by any chance?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Funny how that works.
Very. For those who aren't aware, Liz Cambage, formerly of the Dallas Wings, left and now plays for Vegas. Interesting season. Like you say, very young team. Most of them come back next season. The only person not listed for next year is Alicia Gray. They have about 40. No, they don't. They've got a fair bit of wiggle room in terms of cap space for next season. So they could offer Alicia Gray or bring in somebody new. As we've done each time, pick a player, Kaz, that we want to move on to a new situation or keep in their current situation.
I'm gonna pick Alicia Gray, and I think she could help Vegas.
Ooh. Tell me more.
She had a bit of a not a breakout season, but she had a really good season. And did she miss a few games? She may have missed a few games.
She missed 2 games.
Right. But when she was on, she had a really good, she had a lot of really good games. And I just think it's kind of a 3-point shooting as well would be something that would help. Because that's what Vegas need. She's not obviously a huge 3-point shooter, but I think it'd be kind of, it'd be fun to see. It'd be good to see. I think she'd help them.
Would be, yeah, interesting. I quite like it. And yeah, Vegas do, as much as I absolutely loved watching them. We'll get into them properly later, but they need a bit more of a plan B. Shall we grade Dallas. Is
Yeah.
there any more that needs to be said about Dallas, really? Obviously, Satu Sabali, she's going to be an absolute superstar going forward. Arike is going to win the MVP one day, and I don't think that day is too far away. But she needs to be on a team she needs to be on a top 4 team. I think this Dallas Wings team could be that top 4 team, but they're missing 1 or 2 pieces, and I'm not too sure what those pieces are right now. But
so they definitely need a vet. So going to get, like you said, Candice Dupree.
I mean, yeah, I think that would tick a lot of boxes. To be honest, you say about vet though, they've got Astu and Dor, and she's on the contract. She's on the contract until 2022.
Oh wow! She was just on the bench so much though this season. She didn't really get into the rotation, which was quite strange.
But there is some strange decisions this year with that team. Like Megan Gustafson,
she didn't
goes from being like player of the millennium, joins Dallas, gets cut, comes back, doesn't play, comes back again, doesn't play. I'll be very interested to see how she does playing in Latvia this season. She's playing for TTT Riga, I believe. Let me just triple check. Oh no, sorry, she's playing in Poland. My apologies. Gorzał. My Polish is abysmal. Grade them for me, please, Kaz.
B-.
How many?
B-.
Oh, B-.
What do you think I said?
I think you said E-.
Oh, right.
I was about to boot you out the call. Don't you worry. Darren's doing this solo. I can get on board with that. Do you need to justify it anymore?
No.
I think outperformed expectation. Yeah. I mean, they were that close. They played some brilliant games. They played some not so brilliant games. And they beat Phoenix.
Yeah.
I mean, for me,
that was a great game, wasn't it?
That was a heck of a game. Again, I spoke about it last week. After that game, I legged it straight into that press conference and be like, I got to hear from Marina Mabrey. What a season from Marina Mabrey, by the way.
Yes.
Just from out of nowhere. Obviously, talented player before, but wasn't used. Oh, 7 minutes here. Oh, that's a little bit interesting. Oh, 10 minutes here. Boom! Second best player on the floor against Phoenix. Unreal. You love to see it. Right, we'll be right back after these messages from our partners. Notch. Word from our sponsors, Notch, the mark of achievement, and we are very glad to have them on board with FocusHoops this year. They make fantastic bracelets that look super stylish and really help you celebrate your sporting achievement. They've just launched a basketball collection, and we're really excited to be on board with them. Let's imagine that you're a player. Let's say that you're Courtney Vandersloot. You got 18 assists in a single ball game, and you want a notch and a bracelet to commemorate that fact. Well, you can do just that. Customize it to your team colors, put the year that you achieved it, and get it the exact size that you need. There are a number of the colors available. Or maybe you're a coach. Maybe you're the coach of a basketball team. Let's just say that you're the London Tyrannosaurus Rex. Your team wears red. You had the league's most valuable player, the MVP, and you want to celebrate that. You want to award them with a great looking notch bracelet. Well, you can do just that. And you can get it saying MVP on the notch itself. That's the charm. You can get the colour you want. Gold is one that I'd go for if we're commemorating the best player in the league. We could even get the team logo, if it's the Tyrannosaurus Rex, let's say, on there. And present it in a beautiful presentation case. Huge thanks for Notch for coming on board FocusHoops. And we're back. Again, there, the Notch brand new basketball collection. Link in the description. Go and check it out. I'm wearing mine right now. And again, paid for with my own money because I really like the product. And then boom, we now have a partnership. An E-, says Pablo Cheeks, is definitely a Surrey Scorchers situation. Why are you trying to be messy? Okay.
He's trying to get me in trouble with Dallas.
He's trying to get you in trouble with Dallas. He's trying to get me in trouble with Niall. I don't understand it myself. The Washington Mystics talking about trouble. I mean, okay. They start the season. Well, they go for the whole season without the reigning league MVP. Mm-hmm. That's bad.
It is.
That is not a good situation to be in. But they do come into the year with a heck of a good roster. Heinz Allen, Ariel Atkins, Emma Mieseman, Leilani Mitchell. Some real talent there. And Emma Mieseman, I think this was her time to shine as a starter, you know?
Yeah.
What was it? Finals MVP.
Yep.
I'm certain she's won awards in international competition with Belgium. I'm pretty sure of that now. Now I'm doubting myself. Now Gray will know. She plays for Ekaterinburg, for goodness sakes. You know, this was such an opportunity for them. Okay, they're without, Della Don. That's tough. That's a really tough situation. And it just didn't happen. And they started so well, didn't they?
They had that 3-0 start, and they were the first team to beat Seattle as well. And they beat them quite convincingly. It was like a 15-point win. And then all of a sudden it became, I don't remember how long the losing streak was, but it was a bad losing streak. And I think they had one game where they scored 48 points against New York, which was a bad game. But then wasn't fun to watch.
I'll bet.
But then towards the end of the season, they managed to they got in the playoffs. They got the last spot in the playoffs, and they managed to kind of figure it out towards the end of the season. It was interesting to watch them because Heinz Allen before the season, I don't think nobody would have seen her maybe having the breakout season that she had. She was such a she was up there with Bernard Delaney for the most improved player. Obviously, they lost Natasha Cloud, Latoya Sanders, Tina Charles. So 4 of their starting 5 were gone. But like you say, I was kind of expecting Mieseman to take a bit of a step, and it didn't really happen. The team itself looked a bit lost sometimes, and we know after the game to Connecticut when Mike Thibault was saying there's a wrong way and a right way to play basketball. Didn't really elaborate, but I think we knew what he was insinuating from that. And after that, they did kind of seem to flip a switch. So I think maybe there probably weren't many expectations there going in. That changed when they had that 3-game win streak, and then it kind of flipped back when they went on the losing streak. So a bit of a weird season for them, really.
Yeah, I think what makes their season the most disappointing is it started so well. It was like, oh, here we are. No, why were we fretting? Because they had. I don't know if did they have the performance of like the first round 1? Were they the best team that weekend? Pretty much. Seattle don't count because they were playing New York. But they had a very impressive start, and then it just nosedive, like you said, and they cut Shea Petty or waived Shea Petty.
Yeah, they did.
But on the other hand, they gave Jackie G loads of playing time, so
which was great to see.
That is good to see. We love Jackie G.
We do love Jackie G, yeah. And Ariel Powers obviously got injured.
Yeah.
So she was lost for the season after a few games as well. So that didn't help at all.
No, a very tough season. Let's pick a player to put them somewhere else.
So Tina Charles and Emma Mieseman are free agents. And I don't think... So I don't know if everyone can be signed. I don't know if everyone can come back. I don't know if it's sort of possible. So if they weren't, let's put... let's put Mieseman in.
You're thinking Dallas, aren't you?
I was, but then I thought I'd said that too many times. But yeah, Dallas.
Because they need a big.
They
need a big body.
Her and Satsu.
That'd be interesting. Ooh, European connection. Yeah. Oh, I do like that. I don't know.
I'd like her to stay. I'd like her to stay.
I think I need Mieseman playing with a real physical player. Because when
Like
Della Don is like really scrapping down low. That allows Miesemann with her really funky but really effective like mid-range to stay outside shooting. It frees her up to do a little bit more. So
that's true. Yeah,
I want to see her return. Actually, I don't want to see her go away because I think this is the best situation in the league for her. I could be wrong, but I do think that her and a healthy Elena Della Don, I still think that is one of the most potent front courts in the league. Unless you're going to match her with a Jonquel Jones. So if you've got Jonquel Jones playing the 5 and Miesemann playing the 4.
Hey, well, we can watch that, can't we? In Russia.
Oh, yeah, of course we can. Hey, do you know what? I think we should put her in Seattle so she can play with Brianna Stewart as well. You know.
Oh yeah, that's a.
Oh, we can just. Oh god, that team is outrageous. But yeah. Oh, I'll be really interested to see how often they match up on the floor.
Yeah.
All right, let's. We've not graded them. Give them a letter.
C+. Because they messed around with people's expectations halfway through the season, and at the start, and at the end.
I'm going to go C. I'm going to go C because they started a nice roster. Things are out of their control, but I don't think players performed like you'd expect them to, regardless of the situation. All right, we move to Connecticut Sun 10-12 semi-finalists. The 0-5 starting, 10-12 finishing. Connecticut Sun, and they were a game away from the WNBA finals. Just ridiculous. Just absolutely absurd. Start to finish watching this team. Because at first, so again, Washington situation, you'd watch Connecticut, and we watched them the first couple of weeks, especially, and it was like, after 3/4 time, they're bossing games. It's like, easy. Watch out. Come in for the title. And then the final 7 minutes of a basketball game, it would go absolutely to pot. And you question, what the hell did I just see? Outrageous behavior. And we would genuinely, and I know we say it, and maybe we look stupid for it, but I don't think we do, because honestly, it was bad. We were talking like, we plotted out the next couple of games. It's like, do they win before match day 11 or game 11, whatever? Turns out they did. They went on they put together a run, and then they went over 500 for the rest of the season. So they had a really nice run after that first 5 games eventually. But it was ugly. It was real ugly. And I think, I don't know how much I'm going to weigh that in terms of how it ended versus how it started in a totality. I'm still working out my letter grades. I don't know, Kaz, you gotta speak, mate.
So, yeah, I mean, the start they had, it was bad. As you say, it was bad. It was bad, wasn't it? And it just didn't look like they were going to win. But then they obviously figured something out, because they didn't really have too much of a turnover. They obviously lost Courtney Williams and Shakuna Strickland. Jonquel Jones was out, and they got in Dewana Bonner. So maybe that is a bit of a turnaround.
So hang on, you've just said not much turnaround. They only lost three stars from the WNBA finals last season. I suppose I did say the same about Washington as well. So
yeah, they did have a bit of a turnaround. But even with that, I don't think many people expected the start to be like it was. But hey, credit to them, they figured it out. Alyssa Thomas is Alyssa Thomas, and she is one of the best players on the planet. She's ridiculous, shoulders or no shoulders. She was all defensive first team. She's a free agent.
She is,
along with Jasmine Thomas, which will be interesting.
They are. They have a full protection.
Right.
What exactly that means in terms of WNBA contracts, I do not know, because I'm not a big draft or free agency expert. But I'm assuming then that Connecticut have first dibs, whether the players are happy with that or not.
Yeah, I think that's if it follows the same line.
Yeah. So that's interesting. They were bumping up against the cap this year. They had about 30 grand left over. So, money to play with. Sorry, I cut you off there.
No. Just that to me, the playoff run that they had was super impressive with what they had, what they were up against injury wise, and the fact that they just don't have a deep bench that is something that I just think they need. But they took Vegas to 5 games, knocked out LA, knocked out Chicago. And they finished the season well. They did, yeah, but going into next year, they need to do something about this bench. Just get a bit deeper. But obviously, Jonquel Jones should be back, and this team with Jonquel Jones and a bit of a bench to go to give Alyssa Thomas some rest, they could be in the semi-finals again.
I got 2 things to say. Firstly, you say they finished the season well. I thought you were going to just stop that and say they finished the season. As in, the damage they inflicted on Vegas killed that finals. And I'm not saying that we didn't have good games in the finals. Finals game 2, if you've not seen it, go and seek it out because it's an absolute stone cold classic. Great game of basketball. It was 2 teams just playing such a high level. And one team just had more energy and just played just so as good as you're going to get. Both teams. And one team's just slightly better than the other. What can you say? What can you do? The Sun did that. The Sun caused that. I reckon we go 5 if the Sun doesn't drag Vegas through 5 and nearly put them out entirely themselves. So that's the first thing. Second thing, at the start of the season and in pre-season, I thought, what have the Sun done? What have they done? They've absolutely blown it up. And I thought they'd absolutely shot themselves in the foot. And after 5 games, to talk about that again, I'm like, I mean, am I right or am I right? And it turns out maybe I'm right. Maybe I'm not. They made the semi-finals. They were within a game of making the finals. I don't know. It's very impressive. They've got one of the best coaches in the league. Give that man more money, more time. Is there a player? Let's change it up on this one, unless you desperately want to tell me where you want Alyssa Thomas. Where do you want Alyssa Thomas playing next season?
Connecticut.
All right. So I thought you might say that. So let's talk about, is there a player that you would add to this team? Oh, and we need to talk about DeWanna Bonner as well before we finish off. But is there a player that you'd want to add to this team? Who would take them over the edge? By the way, you're listening, you're watching either live or on demand. Let us know in the comments. Who does the Sun need to tip them over the edge and make them a real contender in the 2021 season? Or any other comments you've got? Absolutely love the interaction. We'll get your comments on the show. What a bit of time for you there, Kaz.
Thank you. Do you know who would be very interesting to add? Who is a free agent? Natasha Howard from Seattle. Because Natasha Howard's defense is fantastic anyway. Connecticut have got one of the best defensive teams ever. Throw her in. They're going to be a defensive juggernaut.
Is that what they need? Do they need more defense?
They need some bench stuff actually. But I think that'd be interesting. I think it'd be interesting. Maybe
I'm just staring off screen at their salary cap for next year, and I'm looking at the name of Jonquel Jones, who I could watch play basketball all day long. She is awesome on the offensive end. I think in the last year's finals, she was a defensive. I don't think she was the best defender on the floor. Let's just say that. I thought she got handled pretty well at times by Elena Delle Donne, who is a bloody marvelous player. So another slightly more defensive big, if you're going to go for a bench depth, who is there a defensive big in the league that you could be like, oh, we'll have you, plunk you in? Maybe a Carolyn Swords off the bench.
Get her out of the front office again.
I don't know. I'm not too sure if that person exists or is available, but I think that's might be where I'd look. or somebody to give them a little bit of a plan B. You have not missed the Sparks. And Pablo, you use dishes yourself, mate. So you've done the dishes for you and everybody in your household. We have not missed the Sparks. Grades for the season, please.
B, because I took into account the playoffs as well.
All right. I'll allow it. I'll go B as well. Chicago Sky. Oh, dear. Oh, dear. In pre-season, when I was lucky enough to be involved in some interviews with some of the players, Diamond DeShields in particular, Courtney Vandersloot, they were talking a huge game. They have unfinished business. The way they went out last season, absurd. Again, if you've not seen it, go and find it. Dearica Hamby hitting a shot from half court with time on the clock, might I add. This wasn't the buzzer's gone. No, she had like 4+ seconds. Picks the pass from Sloot, heaves it up, half court shot, goes in. That's Chicago season over. That is the joy of the one and done game. It's also the curse of the one and done game. Give me a best of 3. I think I'd quite like it. They had unfinished business. They thought they were so ready for this championship. Everything to them was about make the finals. Obviously, that's the same for most teams, okay? Obviously, they're going to this to compete to win. But, I mean, you heard them, you saw the way they came out round 1. They meant it. They were here to take a chip, and it just disintegrated on them this season, I think. And maybe I'm being overly harsh. I don't think I am. It did not match where their preseason chat was, the way they came out of the blocks. And this isn't me slagging them off. This is me saying that sucks, because they had so much more there left on the table. And it's a massive shame. And, players weren't quite fit. Maybe the bubble setting wasn't quite right for certain people, because that's tough.
Mm-hmm.
How long were they in the bubble for? Like 3 months?
Yeah, I was trying to think, because they were obviously there earlier, weren't they? They were there before the season started, so they had a few weeks before the season started. So it's going on 2.5, 3 months.
Yeah. So, nobody's saying this is easy stuff. And it's just, it is tough the way that it turned out in the end. Obviously, Courtney Vandersloot breaking that record yet again with the assists. She averaged 10 assists per game. They finally tacked on. They found the missing one that was attributed to her wife, Ali Quigley, I believe. And like they must have gone hunting through every single pass she made all season, being like, "No, let's just find it. Oh, there it is. Perfect." And they found that quick too, but yet they can't tell us if a player stepped out of bounds. That is the, what do they call it? Butterfly effect?
Yeah.
I'm just saying the league championship ends a little differently if that shot doesn't count. Yeah, okay, you're right. Go ahead.
Yeah, again, they had some bad luck. Did Chicago with Diamond DeShields not being fully healthy and then leaving the wobble just after halfway through the season. The loss of Isaiah Stevens really was big for them as well. That seemed to coincide with their kind of downward spiral. And Steph Dawson was injured for a few games as well. She wasn't like 100%.
Oh, she was injured for. I think she was pretty much injured for most of the season.
Yeah.
If we're honest, how many games did she play? So she played 15 games, but I think she played game 1 and then was in a boot for the best part of 2 weeks. And I don't know if she was ever quite there. Of course, she also had COVID earlier in the year.
Yeah. Yeah. And these things have an effect, because but halfway through the season, Chicago were in the top 4, and we were talking about potentially seeing them in a finals with Seattle.
Yeah.
But when you look at it, they've had the worst defensive rating of any team in the playoffs. They allow 36 points in the paint, and they have that outside shooting, but they didn't, especially with Steph Dawson not being 100%. They didn't really have much inside, and struggled a bit there against some of the more physical teams. So I think next season that they're not leaps and bounds away, are they? They're maybe like a piece, a healthy team and an extra piece away to kind of push them into that championship.
All right, let's dive into it then. Who is the missing piece? Who is the missing link? Who can we chuck into this Chicago Sky squad? And obviously, is there anybody that you want to scooch to another team or give an extension?
So I don't know if I want to see this. I'm a bit torn about this, but there's some rumors flying out there. Candace Parker's a free agent.
You're gonna say. Yes.
And she's from Chicago.
Yes.
And if I look at it objectively, that would be a great fit. That'd be a really good fit. So objectively, Candace Parker as a Sparks fan, I don't know, but I mean that would be a fit, and that would push that. Like Candace Parker is going to push you over edges forever. So that would be very interesting.
Get Candace Parker to Chicago. Let's just make it happen. Let's just make it happen.
And who would I like to
Dewana Bonner? How much of an impact do you reckon Dewana Bonner would make on this team?
She would have an impact, and she'd be like the scoring, and she's inside. But I think they need a bit more of a, I don't know. I mean, I was going to say more of a physical presence inside. I mean, Bonner is, she's the length of her, the blocks, and her defense is great. But in my mind, I'm kind of thinking a bit more. I don't know, a big, or a sort of.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, if that makes sense.
All right. Well, I mean, a fully fit Steph Dolson. I mean, how far does she go for that? And also, a fully fit Azra Stevens. She's not a big, but oh man, I was gutted when she got injured.
I know, it's such a shame.
To be fair, we're gutted when everybody gets hurt.
Yeah.
Grade for Chicago?
A B-.
Yeah, can't be too harsh. Not that would we? We'd be fair. The Phoenix Mercury. Greg's Phoenix Mercury. Where are you, Greg? Here to defend your team. Oh, Phoenix.
They were weird. Weren't Phoenix weird?
So strange.
those first 4 weeks.
What was their record? 13-9. It could have been 11-11. What a weird team they were. And the thing that you hate to say, but they did improve once Brittany Griner left the wobble.
Yeah.
Which, very strange. Very strange. I mean, sometimes with sports teams, we've seen it when one of your best players, or maybe your best player, I don't know if you can quite say she's better than Taurasi, but maybe not, leaves the team, the sum total of the team does improve. We see it with the New York Knicks back in the day. What's it called? It's the
Ewing theory.
The Ewing theory, that's the one. Sorry, all I could think was Georgetown, the Georgetown theory. The Ewing theory. So, I mean, maybe it's just a little bit of that. But what is your take on the most bizarre team in the wobble? I think that's fair to say. Can we say that?
Yeah, I mean, I think at one point they were just alternating games, and they had they came out and they looked dominant and they won, and then they'd just be a mess the next game. It was a very, very strange team to start. But as you say, the second half of the season without Griner, obviously she changes the dynamic of the team. They're going to get the ball inside a lot more. So without her, they were kind of had a bit better ball movement. Teams, you've got Griner, teams know it's coming into her. So without her, they've got a few more options and things, and it seemed to work a lot better. Skylar Diggins-Smith, I thought, had a great season coming back after having a baby. Taurasi looked like Taurasi, as awesome as ever. The real shame was when Bria Hartley tore ACL, and she wasn't in the. I think she did that just towards the end of the season. Missed a couple of games, so wasn't in the playoffs. And Brianna Turner had a all defensive team selection. Their bench was getting very thin towards the end as well, with a lot of injuries. So I think they did well with they did well to turn it around in the second half of the season and find a bit more continuity, a bit of consistency as well. And they were, I mean, their 2 playoff games, buzzer beaters, ridiculousness, awesome basketball to watch. And
They
Taurasi is
did.
always amazing.
And of course, they did provide us with the best T-shirt of the season that I will be ordering after this podcast. The Shape Eddie shot, which for me, moment of the season, moment of the whole season, it's up there.
Yeah, I was going to say Skylar Dean-Smith one, but because again it was against Washington who'd cut her, and yeah,
like come on, are you kidding me? The whole storyline, but also the fact that she caught it, little fake sidestep, boom.
The awareness of the time, the defender.
But then again, Ishmael Fontaine, let's just channel Ish. She's been doing this. It's all she ever has done. It's all she knows is winning in the big moment. And that was a big moment. The ball went to her. Wasn't her play, but she just swished it. Unreal. God, what a play that was. You love to see.
So good. So she's playing with Ruthie Hebert in Turkey on the same team. So watch out for them.
So,
might see some more of that.
Fantasy time. Where do you want Britt Griner to play next year?
I want her to play in Dallas because I want everyone to play in Dallas. She's a big, which is what Dallas need. But I don't know if it would really work.
I don't know.
No, I don't think it would work in Chicago as well.
No.
Connecticut? I don't know. I think she needs a Taurasi-like player to feed off.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I think that's fair. It's a difficult one because she's 8 years deep into her pro career. Like, it's strange that we're having these conversations, and maybe that's just an outside looking in. It's a little unfair, but I don't know, man. Like, I don't see it working if she went to Dallas, to be honest.
Yeah.
But maybe I'm doing her a massive disservice, and it turns out that, because that would be her first new pro team, wouldn't it? Because she's only ever played for the European teams and Phoenix. So maybe, because she'd go in and they'd be like, "This is your team. Like you're going to take so much of the load. You and Enrique Gumbawale and Satu Sabali." Oh, actually, this is starting to sound a lot of fun. I like it. Is there anybody that you would add to this roster to take them over the edge?
I think they're almost there. I think they're with a healthy team and the breakout seasons that Bria Hartley and Brianna Turner have had. One more. Not that I can think of. They do need a little something else.
Let me try this one on here, right? Brianna Turner, Dallas.
Ooh.
Should
we move everyone to Dallas and expand the roster?
That's a good idea.
Like it would work, I think.
And then move me to Dallas, and I will commentate their games. Aha! You'd love to see it.
Sorted.
Grades, please, Kaz.
B-. I think they had a lot of expectations at the start of the season.
I think B- is fair. I think that's reasonable. High expectations, weird season.
Yeah.
Just weird. Is B- the most average grade you can give a team?
Maybe. Yeah.
Oh, but plus points because of Go Chat, I like Go Chat.
I feel now, I know I complained about it every single time I saw it, but now I miss it. Now it's not there. Now I just want to hear the meh.
And then her getting bleeped for swearing immediately after.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. Right. We have a question from Pablo Cheeks. Pablo says, "Can you explain why women's basketball is so good?" Well, firstly, it's just basketball, isn't it? But it's played by women. So that's just the first thing to say. Like, it's not its own sport. But the fundamentals. For me, it comes down to a little bit of just it's fundamentally a more sound game because typically the makeup of male versus female anatomy down to a muscular level in terms of the fast twitch and all that business. And if Nate Lucas is watching this, ask him more about it in detail. But men can get away with some sloppy business and then throw down a dunk. And if you're not Britt Griner or a handful of other women players, WNBA players, you just don't have that. So for me, the game is more interesting from a technical point of view and more interesting from a pace. It's a slightly slower pace at times. And I think I don't know, part of me just prefers that. And also from a British point of view, I really love the finals are always awesome. And the men's finals are not always as good. There's still great basketball being played, but the women's games tend to be a lot more compelling, at least at the WBBL final stage. Kaz, what do you think? What do you make of it?
I absolutely echo everything that you've said there. You're definitely right. It's the fundamentals aspect of it, which I know some people might hear fundamentals and think, oh, that's boring, but it's not, is it? Let's be honest. And I tell you what I've really enjoyed as well, and it's just such a contrast to watching a team. I'm not disparaging any particular NBA team, but it's really nice not to watch basketball where it's just threes or inside play. I'm very old school. Me and Adam from Brand 161 have this discussion all the time. The mid-range, we love a mid-range shot, and I enjoy watching the women's game because there's just more of that. And yeah, the lack of just shooting 63 pointers a game and making 15 of them, it's not super interesting, that. But it's fantastic. It's women's basketball is fantastic basketball. If you like basketball, watch women's basketball.
Yeah, and that's what I say to people all the time as well, Kaz, and I know we've had this conversation a lot. If you like basketball, watch women's basketball. If you like flashy dunks and you just want to get hyped for that, go and watch the NBA.
Which is fine. People want that. It's fine.
Like what you like, but if you're a basketball fan and you haven't watched it before, watch a high-quality women's game. Like, we've got... Go and watch Ekaterinburg. Okay, make sure they're playing somebody who is good, but go and see them play and just watch the best players on the planet do what they do best. Yeah, you're in for a real treat. If you've never seen it before, you're in for a proper treat. Niall Gray, obviously Surrey Scorchers commentator and mentor to Anglia Ruskin University's commentator. Who are your favourite WNBA commentators and why? So for me, that's a bit of a tricky one because I don't really have any favourite WNBA commentators just yet. Because to be honest, I watched a lot of the games with the sound quite low this year, just sort of taking it in without the help of commentators all of the time. Though I do like the ESPN crew of Ryan Rocco and Rebecca Lobo, and of course the legendary Holly Rowe at courtside and LaChina Robinson in the studio during halftime and post games. And I think that, I don't know, I feel like I just saw loads of the ESPN ABC crew this year. So it was quite interesting, Niall. I think you might find this interesting at least, is that if there were games on ESPN, they had them all. They would do, so if there were two ESPN games, you'd have Lobo and Rocco, who are like, they're stable and have done the finals for a couple of years. So they're like the voice of the WNBA outside of FocusHoops, obviously. Yeah, for me, I like them. They work well together. They've worked together for a long time. So yeah, they've got that chemistry. They're very knowledgeable. So I like what they bring. I want to hear some different voices on ESPN, please. Like, because hearing the same two people all the time for every single game, I don't know. Just give me a little bit of something different. Though they were very smart. They had LaChina Robinson at halftime doing interviews and like analysis, and they had players like just bubbling in and stuff like that. So it was quite interesting. broadcast in that regard. So I'm just going to go for the standard ESPN crew. What about yourself, Kels?
I was going to say, so my favourite is Rebecca Lobo, and much for the same reason that you said. I think she's got really great chemistry with Ryan. But she's kind of my favourite. This is maybe not really a commentary reason, but she's my favourite because I grew up watching her and I really liked her as a player. And when I heard her commentating now, it's like, oh, this is cool because I like Rebecca Lobo. So, and I like the little stories that she kind of drops in. So, for me.
There you go. Papa Cheeks responds with loads of thumbs up. And Pap says, keep up the good work. I'll watch back for the Sparks. Question for when you get there. Should Anigwe have been used more? Will she feature more moving forward? Well, let's talk about Minnesota, and then we will get to Los Angeles. Minnesota Sparks, 14-8. They made the semifinals. They lost one of the best players, maybe the best player in their history. Maybe not. In Simone Augustin. Of course, they were without Maya Moore again this season. So, big losses for them this season. How do you think it went for them?
I think it went really well for them. I think a lot of people were surprised by what they did this season. So Maya Moore's out. Sylvia Fowles got injured 7 games in. I think she didn't play too much with that calf injury, and they finished with the 4th seed. Was that right? They were 4th. Yeah. Got to the second round of the playoffs. Had the Rookie of the Year in Crystal Dangerfield. Nafisa Collier is amazing, and is only in her second year, and is just. She improved like her points, her shooting percentage, and played an extra minute more. She's just fantastic. They lost Karima Christmas Kelly early on in the season as well. Odyssey Sims wasn't with them from the start. They were just up against it constantly, and they did really well. And Cheryl Reeve did a great job. And I think, in a few years, so this team are the youngest starting 5 without Sylvia Fowles. In a couple of years, and even next year, if Maya Moore's back next year, if Sylvia Fowles is healthy next year, they have got the pieces together for a long time to be competitive for a long time.
Yeah, the fun thing with Minnesota was people were like, well, they're missing the playoffs.
This is the year that they'll end that streak. This is
the year the streak is over. They're done. Look, about Nafisa Collier, I need to now get something off my chest. She was the rightful Rookie of the Year last year. And somehow this excellent season she's just had kind of shows it a little bit more, though it was right there. And again, Arike, big step up this season. Crystal Dangerfield, what a story. And again, if you're not familiar with it, let me tell you on a journey to the second round of the draft, the 16th overall pick, Crystal Dangerfield. Teams passed up on her time and again. Because why? Because they were worried about her size. Well, they were foolish to worry about her size, okay? Because she's so explosive, so gritty at times, prepared to give up the body time and again to get it done on offense. She led the team in scoring, 16.2 points per game. She got to the line 3 times a game, hit well from the line. What a season from Crystal Dangerfield. And it was obviously completely out of left field. At the start of the season, nobody had Crystal Dangerfield as a top pick, as a Rookie of the Year contender on their cards at all. Midway through the season, though, yours truly over here at Focus Hoops, we thought, actually, and it was, again, because of conversations with Michael Anton Morris and people like this, look out for Crystal Dangerfield. She's making something real special there. And did luck go her way? Yeah, of course it did. But luck goes everybody's way in these things. Hell of a season. Such a great story. Second round draft pick.
5'5".
5'5". Like, she is small, but she's a point guard in basketball.
She can do it. It doesn't bother her, does it? Like it's not
No.
hindering her at all. She's doing what she wants. She's getting to the basket. She's scoring.
I really do find that a strange thing to be worried about with an explosive point guard like that. It's like, yeah, but she's short. It's like, yeah, but she's super quick.
Yeah, and that
Yeah, but she's got
quickness.
great handle. She's got a great first step. She's got great passing. She's got great finishing. I just don't understand how you're not seeing what she's done for 4 years in college. She played all 4 years. What she did all in college. And again, then, in the land of the giants, I don't understand. It's silly. It's silly to me, but maybe there was more to it. Though I think Seattle were looking at her in the first round and ended up passing on her. I think I remember her. She was on a couple of boards at going 11 to Seattle, I think.
Okay.
Can't quite remember now. Right. Anything we need to talk about with Seattle? Sorry, not Seattle, Minnesota.
Just that Lexi Brown as well was out for quite a while with concussion protocol, and I hope she's feeling better. And next season, I'm excited to see her play to her full potential, because I really thought she could have been maybe a 6th Woman of the Year contender this year, or most improved player. I think she's got a really bright future, and it'll be good to see her back at full strength.
They have absolutely bags of cap space. They have their core pretty much returning this season. Maybe if they can get Maya Moore back in. So let's do it. Let's do the fantasy booking of chuck a player on this roster.
So I don't think you need to. I think if you chuck Maya Moore back in, I don't think you need to put anyone else on.
This is assuming Sylvia Fowles is going to be fit next year.
Yeah.
The leading rebounder in history.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Put her, Maya Moore, back on. Nafisa Collier, Christy Dangerfield. It's there. It's there. I mean, obviously, you could add, Candace Parker.
Hear me out. Brittany Griner.
I don't.
No, I think this might be. I think this might be it.
Okay, sell it to me.
Look at the coaching staff. Look at the organization. Yeah.
Yeah.
This is the second best situation, as far as I can see from the outside looking in the entire league. Arguably the best. Surely the most stable.
Yeah.
Certainly the coaching situation is very experienced. Yeah. The organization is just going in the right direction. Multiple champions. They, when they came up against Seattle in the semifinals, it's like, oh, here we go. The dynasties meet again. If we're worried about Griner in any way other than the way she plays the game, what a situation Minnesota Lynx. And think about what she's going to bring to this team. The rebounding, the offense, just the all-world player that she is and can be. And I think maybe she does need a fresh start. Minnesota need a fit, healthy, big. Maybe to complement Fowles, but looking at their cap room, you could accommodate them both, at least financially.
So
does Fowles need to play every single game? No.
Would you have Fowles come off the bench, or would you move her to forward, or how would you work the two?
Maybe you platoon it.
Yeah.
Maybe you platoon it, and maybe at times you have them both out there together. Maybe. I'm not too sure. I've not thought about this a huge amount, but
a bit interesting. A Twin Towers. You could have a.
Well, yeah, I think so, because they offer slightly different things, and
yeah.
I'm interested. I'm excited for it.
Okay, you sold it to me.
Yep. I've sold it to you. Oh,
good work. That'd be very.
What's your grade?
I took an A-.
We are in sync. A- as well. Yeah. I was tempted to go just AA. I think I need to see them take a game in the semis to give them that third of it, that third of the grade.
Which they nearly did in that first game, if it wasn't for Alicia Clark and her buzzer beater. But they were there. They were almost there.
The Los Angeles Sparks, 15-7, second round exit. And you might be thinking, oh, well, that's all right. Second round. They made through the first round. No, they lost to the 7 seed in their first playoff game.
For the second year in a row to the same team. The second year in a row.
That is not a good situation. I dare say that is a bad situation. Pablo asks the question. We'll get to you in a sec, Pab. Talk to me. Full disclosure, people may not know this about you. You're a bit of a Sparks fan, I understand.
Even though I'm wearing a Seattle t-shirt. I am a Sparks fan. This was such a disappointing end to the season, or sort of last third maybe of the season and into the playoffs, because they started off a bit iffy. Had a bit of a win-loss record, and then really managed to kind of get it together, and went on quite a run. Candice Parker had one of her best seasons. Obviously, she was coming off an injury last year. They didn't really have too much injury trouble at the start of the season. They did lose Raquana Williams and Sydney Weiss and Necker for a couple of games, which did have an impact. But they were when they played well, they played really well. When they kind of were missing a piece, they didn't seem able to kind of fit around that and figure it out. And the expectations with Simone Augustus coming in, they were kind of up there, and they just didn't do it. The game against Connecticut, it was hard to watch. It was hard to watch as a Sparks fan, but it was hard to watch as a basketball fan. It was very lackluster, and it was so disappointing. And the problem with these second round one game eliminations is you see a team that's fought hard to get the third seed all season. One bad game after a week off when they're out of sync. They lost Necker just before the game, so they weren't kind of planning on playing without her, and it threw them off. So pretty disappointing, really. And to lose to Connecticut again for the second year in a row, they'll not be happy about that at all. But when they were good, they were very good. Candice Parker and Necker Agunke are just amazing to watch.
I've got to say, I was never convinced by them.
Boo.
I just was. I don't
Not
think
even in the first game, where they were just dominant over Phoenix.
That was a really good game, but I don't know. There was something that just from the jump just wasn't quite right, and maybe it's just a hangover from how things went last year.
Yeah,
and, the situation with Candice Parker. I mean, I don't know. I just there was just a lot there that I looked at, and I didn't love what I saw. Good team, obviously third best record in the league, but you can't go. You can't. I mean, of course you can. Like, what am I saying? Connecticut. The run they had at the end of the season, they shouldn't have. They weren't a 7 seed. They should have been a bit higher. But even still, the nature of the loss in that game, that was bad. And I mean, of course, there are mitigating factors, but everything's bad by that point.
I mean, the effort from the team just didn't seem to be there. The effort from Candice Parker wasn't in question in the slightest. She scored 40 points and did absolutely everything. But the quality of play from the rest of LA it just wasn't there.
A very, very strange season, strange team. There are some things I like. There are some things I just, like I say, did not love. Loved watching Tia Cooper play.
Yes, actually, yes.
Good, really, a real positive for the year. Obviously, Necker Agunke, just a star. Candice Parker, just a star. Still don't think she's DPOI, but absolute star. I was all aboard the Brittany Sykes for DPOI train for a little while there, just for a little spell in the middle. But
she was all defensive team.
There you go then. A very strange season and a lot of soul searching over the summer or over the off season.
Yeah.
Because they have a lot of players who I don't think we see them again next year.
There's a lot of free agents.
There's a lot of free agents. They've got a lot of cap to play with. It's Los Angeles. Like, that's a market that people like, even though you've got forest fires and you're on the San Andreas fault line, and I suppose you don't get hurricanes, so there's that.
Yeah.
Can you tell what my other role is in life? But yeah, it's just, what a bizarre situation.
Yeah. And I sort of, in a way, I feel like every team that's had a weird season, I mean, it was a weird season anyway, wasn't it? Just by the very nature of what they're doing. So I kind of want to give them a bit of a pass, but it was weird.
Question from Pab before we do a little bit of fantasy booking. I go back and watch for the Sparks. Question for when you get there: should Enigwe have been used more? I say yes.
Yep.
And of course I'm going to say yes, because this is a podcast about, well, from the British Isles, and she's a GB international. But also, I think she'd have just offered them something a little bit different. Also, I'd have loved to have seen her be allowed to play more and grow more as a player. And I think this, I don't know, the bubble for a lot of players was a real breakout for them. And I don't think Enigwe had that. She played 17 games, averaged 11 minutes per game, averaged 4.6 points. Really didn't shoot many free throws at all. Sorry, that's just one of those stats that I always look at, like, how many free throws are you shooting? Ooh, not a lot. I don't know. I would have liked to have seen more of her. Should she have been used more? I mean, again, I'd like to have seen it. Kaz, you take a closer look at this team than I do. What do you make of it for Pab?
Yeah, I think she should have been used more. She obviously was put into the starting lineup when Necker was scratched in the Connecticut game, and that didn't really work too well. But when she was coming off the bench and when she was getting the opportunities to play, she was having an impact. So I would have liked to see her more. And it was strange. She had a run of really good games where, she might be doing things again that don't show up on the stat sheet as much, but she was, and it's a shame to not sort of see her be able to maybe get the more minutes to develop and see what she could have done. I hope she does feature more going forward, but I do wonder if maybe she doesn't stay in LA this year and maybe goes to a team where she might play a bigger role, which would be good to see, obviously, because it'd be.
Does she need to have a Betnaja Elaney situation?
Yes, yeah, something like that, where she's kind of got the opportunity to show what she can do. Because she's a good player. She's a great player.
Yeah, great player. Plays internationally.
And sometimes I think it's always hard when you're just coming off getting a few minutes to kind of get into a rhythm. You can't always just immediately. I mean, I know these women are professionals and stuff, but it is very hard to just turn it on immediately and come off the bench not having played, be out of sync, maybe not have played the last game or played a couple of minutes. It takes time to get into a rhythm, and especially she's very early in her career. And
they say that, don't they, in like championship moments or big moments where a player's not seen the ball for all game, and then all of a sudden you got to make a three at the death, and unless you're Shea Petty, are you going to be able to do that? Who's to say?
Look at Ali Quigley in that game against Vegas. That's what she did. She was cold she'd not been on the bench. She'd not been on the court for like 6-7 minutes. Came on, hit the three to win.
I mean, that's Ali Quigley though. Like, she's a big time player.
Yeah.
And she had feet. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Fair.
But you have to, you have to obviously develop that, don't you?
Yeah. I know what you're saying. Christina Enigwe is playing in Turkey, which I think, Kaz, we've not spoken about this. I keep on meaning to, but I've not. So let's do it on the show now. I think that's going to be one of your featured leagues that you're probably going to keep more of an eye on.
Definitely.
Especially with your Duolingo Turkish lessons. So, Pab, you can see Christina Enigwe playing for Çukurova. I think I've said that correctly. It's a C with the line underneath it. Çukurova in Turkey. So hey, don't forget Kaz and Daz show, as Kaz is going to be keeping a keen eye on Turkey. I'm going to dibs Spain if that's all right.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, great.
Katie and Carly Samuelson.
Katie, Kylie Samuelson. Yeah, those are also reasons why I will definitely be watching that league. Sure. Smelly grass. Going to try and interview one of her international teammates soon.
Oh, awesome.
Going to try to anyway. Right. Oh yeah, fantasy time. So Candice Parker.
No.
We're getting her to Chicago, right?
Maybe. Maybe. I would like to see.
Are we adding a player?
Do you know what? What about Liz Cambage? What
No.
if you add Liz Cambage?
I mean, okay, sure. Okay, this is terrible for audio. But yeah, okay. I think why not add one of the best players on the planet to this situation? I don't see how that could make it worse. Yeah, I mean, what would Las Vegas need to? What could LA do to get Liz Cambage? Sorry, I know I'm completely changing the rules of this situation, but it's interesting. Do you think that is the solution?
No, I don't.
What is the solution?
I was trying to think of someone. What is the solution? I think they need.
Is it off the floor? Is it off the court?
Possibly, it could be. I mean, look at the players they've got. So they've got Necker, they've got Candice Parker, they've got Janae coming back, Christy Tolliver they signed, who will be back. Obviously, she opted out this season. Brittany Sykes. Like, when you look at the team that they've got, they should be a contender.
I mean, let's not forget. They finished third in the regular season, 15-7. Yeah. So by no means a bad team, by no means a bad season, but
something needs
to
change.
There. Do you know who would be a really good addition to this team? Maybe Coach Brian Agler
back in LA. That's interesting.
I mean, I know. What do you think? Like, you look at this roster. This roster is just vet. Very exciting rookie, vet.
I would like to see Lisa Leslie move over from the Big Three and coach them. I would like that.
Ooh.
That would be fun.
I like it. I like it a lot. Let's grade your Los Angeles Sparks.
A B-.
Yeah, go on. Yeah. I was thinking either a C+ or a B. With a big range because they've still finished the season really well.
Yeah.
Or they've still performed really well. But they're never quite convinced. But then going into the season, I don't think I was super convinced. They've been good. At times they've been really good. At times they've been not so great. And the way they finished, yeah, B- seems reasonable.
Such a shame to finish like that. Yeah.
All right. I think it makes sense if we change the order very slightly and get a bit of a wiggle on. The Las Vegas Aces, 18-4, swept in the playoffs. They had the league MVP, Asia Wilson. They had the 6th woman of the year, Dearica Hamby, injured for those final games. They had the FocusHoops coach of the year, Bill Lambert. And they had Carolyn Swords. Just one of the stories of the entire season. Kaz, let's get into it. Vegas. For me, I think pretty much as I expected it to go. I've been very high on this team since the start. I've been really excited by what I saw on the floor. That first game against Chicago, it was awesome. I thought they looked great. And then, Chicago got them with the dagger. There was a lot in that game. So, How much did we read into it? How much did I read into it? I'm not too sure. Then they just put together an 18-4 record. They beat Seattle twice in the regular season. All with, we want to talk about struggle at the start of the season. We talk about it all the time. They had 4 plays in training on Sundays. Interviewing Bill Laimbeer before, after practice. How was practice? Yeah, we had 4 guys. I was out there walking about. What are you going to do? So tough start, but a stacked roster. Getting, I think, the most out of most players for this year. The step that we've seen with Asia Wilson, missing 2 of their best players, Kelsey Plum and Liz Cambage, missing Jisoo Park or Park Jisoo, who you add her size inside, and I think Vegas are in a healthier position because it takes a little. Well, I mean, it takes a load off Carolyn Swords for a good start. She may not need to come back, or even if she does come back, it still takes a lot off of her plate in terms of what she's expected to do during the game, and it allows them to play bigger, longer in the game. So that's a bigger what if for me than if we have Cambage back, because we're not, magicking other all world players. But Park Ji-soo, very talented player, would have liked to have seen what she could have done on this roster. I think 18-4, great record, regular season champions. But boy, did they make heavy work of Connecticut, who were on a major roll. And then the finals, and game 1 was a roller coaster for them. Game 2 was an absolute classic gunfight, shootout, who blinks. Game 3 started awesome and then fell apart, and that was the season. Kaz, I've spoken for a long time. Go ahead.
No, whatever. You're absolutely spot on with everything. They were the best team in the regular season. The playoffs were so tough for them, like you said, and the injuries that they had at the time, and coming up against the bulldozing Connecticut Sun was a problem for them. But I think they probably did a little bit better than people expect. Well, to get to the finals, actually, a lot better than some people expected, because, like I said, you're losing 2 of your best players in Cambage and Plum. People weren't really too sure of what they were going to look like, and it was Asia Wilson going to be able to carry a team? Yes, is the answer to that. She can. And, that won't be a question again. She's one of the absolute stars of the league. And they were a really good team to watch. They were dominant, weren't they, in the regular season? They just had a rough playoff run. Some things out of their control, some things in their control. The way they play, the lack of the 3-point shooting, and reliant upon the 2-point shooting. Maybe that's something they look at next season, because I do think in this league you need as you say, the plan B, the backup, the 3-point shooting. So maybe that's something they look at. But they had a great season, and it's something to build on completely. They're a young team as well. Like, Asia Wilson's in her 3rd year. It's the great regular team, and they will build on that, and they'll be back in the playoffs and win in the playoffs.
And yeah, I think the Hamby injury, absolute killer.
Yeah.
I mean, she was the 3rd, or you could potentially argue. Actually, you probably can't argue, but she was definitely the 3rd best player on this team. Rightful 6th Woman of the Year, and then to be suddenly have that taken away, always an uphill battle. Let's do some fantasy GM. Oh, by the way, their front office won the GM of the year as well.
Oh, that's cool.
Name escapes me, so apologies to you. I will go digging in a second. Are we gonna take a player away? Well, you already did, didn't you? You've nicked Cambage from them.
This isn't how this works. I'm not supposed to remember which ones I've moved. I would put a Christy Tolliver on there, or maybe a Alicia Gray. Did I say that earlier? A 3-point. Then someone that's going to shoot. Maybe Lilani Mitchell. Someone that will shoot a lot of 3-pointers and make them. Don't just shoot them. Make them.
Who was the best 3-point shooter in the league this year?
That's a good question.
Yeah, I need to just find out.
Was it someone on Dallas?
I mean, boy, I hope so. It was Diana Taurasi. Of course it was. Well,
yeah, because she had
Taurasi,
yeah.
she scored the most per game.
Well,
Not necessarily at the highest clip, but yeah. Oh, I thought it might be. Here's a name for you. Arike Gumbawale.
She made them out. She had the best percentage.
No. She was fourth in made.
Okay.
Her percentage was 41.2. So that's going to be decent. Of wow, Ruthie Hebard. I struggle with her name. She hit 2.6 of 3.9 taken. That's awesome. 68%, and she's making 2.5 a game. That's all. That's unreal.
Anyway, she plays as well. Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Well, I mean, maybe that makes life easier for her. Anyway, Arike Gumbawale.
Okay. Yeah. Hey, if it's fantasy GM, yeah, throw her in there. Imagine that.
Well, I think that's where they need help. Really, is in the backcourt. Because, and you have a pure shooting guard like a Gumbawale next to a Kelsey Plum.
Yeah. Oh, what about Courtney Williams?
Maybe. Yeah, maybe. Does Courtney Williams have the outside game? The outside shooting?
She can. Maybe, yeah. It's not the... We need some drastic... we need a drastic improvement on 3-point shooting.
And that's what I see with Agumbawale, because she's an absolute firecracker offensively. Plonk her in there and away she goes. Are we going to grade? Are we ready to grade? I think we're ready to grade.
Yeah, so I give them an A.
I'm also going to go A. I don't think I can go A+ because they got swept in the final.
Yeah.
And they got taken 5 games by the 7 seed. Again, I don't think it's a true 7 seed.
Yeah.
If you know what I mean by that. But yeah, hell of a season. Congratulations. And the executive of the year was Dan Padova. And finally, it is the champion Seattle Storm. On this episode that we expected to take about an hour.
Whoops.
And there's just another reminder of the finals MVP, Brianna Stewart, absolutely dominant. These pictures courtesy of the WNBA, 4th title for Sue Bird in 4 appearances. All you LeBron and Jordan, all that chat. 18-4. And they lost twice to Las Vegas.
Without Sue Bird, though. So Sue Bird didn't play both games and Stewart didn't play the second game.
That's true. Hey, look, you can only beat who you put in front of you.
That's true, yeah.
I'll let you run with this one.
I mean, what can you say? They did it. They did everything kind of... They were the team that had the least amount of turnover, and they kind of came back after their 2018 title because they couldn't properly defend it in 2019, and they just kind of... I mean, how long was it before they lost the game? They were on quite a streak at one point. Oh no, sorry, they had the Washington loss early, but then they were quite... they just look like a powerhouse because they've got the inside presence. Brianna Stewart's playing 30 minutes, a game, which is the least of her career, but she's still, averaging like 19 points a game, 1.5 blocks, 20 points.
19.7. I make that.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Yeah, it is 20, isn't it? Yeah, 8.3 rebounds, 3.6 assists. She looked fantastic coming off her injury. The whole team did. The whole team looked good. It took them They took Natasha Howard a little bit of a while to get into a rhythm, and that was purely because you're just inserting Stewart and Bird back into the starting lineup, which she wasn't used to playing against. But what they did, they did everything right. What do they need to improve on? Nothing really. Their 3-point shooting is fantastic. Their inside game's great. Maybe tighten up on some of the turnovers, but that was a problem in the playoffs and not really in the regular season. They're so good. they're six. They went 6-0 in the playoffs. They didn't lose a single game in the playoffs. And they were the best team in the regular season up until that last weekend against Vegas. Really,
all fair points. Also, they have Alicia Clark, who was the FocusHoops DPOY.
Yeah.
And unanimous first team all defense. 11 votes, all first team. So yeah. I mean, what more can be said?
Yeah.
Amazing offense, amazing defense. The big question is, does Sue Bird come back for one more and more of a, if we have a normal season, does she come back for that? Hopefully, I would say.
I hope so.
I mean, again, they can manage her minutes. They've got cap to bring basically everybody back if they want to. Who do they need to add to make this a better team, better roster? I don't think need has much to do with it.
No.
But with the rest of the league, let's just assume that everybody tools back up the rest of the season for next season. They are going to need a piece. Yeah.
Because I think they'd still probably be one of the favourites next year, but it's going to be harder, isn't it, with people like Cambage, Elena Del Don, Natasha Cloud back. Like the teams were strong this year. Yeah, they're just getting stronger as well, so they might have a tougher road next year.
I think they want to go for 5, don't they?
Yeah, they
next year.
Yeah.
Who could be added to this roster? Well, assuming that we don't want to send anybody anywhere else.
No. So add Meeseman then.
I tell you what, Brianna Stewart, just Dallas. No, Meeseman.
Meeseman, yeah.
Meeseman.
Yeah, with a big Stewart.
And Howard.
Yeah.
I like it.
I mean, you come in though into, again, cheat code teams there.
Yeah. Big style.
But
I like that. I do like that. Cambage. Just chuck Cambage in there as well, Yeah, just do it. Again, landing spot for Brittany Griner. Though I think I like the fit more in Minnesota.
Yeah, you sold me on Minnesota.
I sold you on Minnesota, so I can't sell you on Seattle as well.
It'd have to be a very good sales pitch.
It's 10 o'clock at night. I don't have the energy for that. Plus, I think I prefer her in Minnesota. I like Meeseman on this team. That's a frightening. That's a horrible team. That's the New York Yankees of women's basketball. That's awesome. A grade for the season, please.
An A+.
Yeah. I think so too. What can you say? Awesome regular season. Completely dominant postseason. Didn't look like they were going to lose a game. Not even in that game 2, where it was looking like, oh, could they? The question was, could they? Not, oh, I think they've lost this.
Yeah.
It was never in doubt. Unbelievably dominant season from start to finish. And a hell of a job everybody involved with Seattle. And a hell of a job everybody involved in the WNBA. And a heck of a job everybody involved in the FocusHoops WNBA show from start to finish this season. I know that every single week I've absolutely loved doing these episodes every Thursday for the last 14 episodes plus a little bit more. I don't know if that's quite 14 weeks that we've done this for, but it's been an absolute blast. I've loved every moment of it, watching as much basketball as we could, soaking it all in, being able to interview the players. So just a huge thank you to the WNBA and their media department for letting us in there and be a part of providing coverage for this season. Kaz, what are your thoughts on the season or your time with on the show or anything?
It's been great. I've had an absolute blast this season on the show. It's been fantastic every week getting to talk about, the players that we've seen, the great games that we've seen, the players that we love, and the season as a whole. I think we maybe said last week, a few weeks before the season, it was so up in the air, wasn't it? Like people didn't know if they were going to be able to pull it off, what was going to happen, if there was going to be positive tests, were they going to start the season and maybe not finish. But Kathy Engelbert and everybody involved has done an amazing job in getting the teams safe and healthy and completing the wobble. The players this year, they completed the wobble. Put it on your basketball CV. I survived the wobble. And it was great. We got to see some amazing games and some really good breakout players, and it's been a blast. It's been a great season, and this has been so much fun as well.
Yeah, I found myself on Sunday, firstly missing WNBA basketball, but also scrolling through the internet trying to find the TikToks. Not that I have TikTok, like obviously, why would I have TikTok? But finding the TikToks that were done by the Chicago Sky, because they just made me laugh a lot, and it's been amazing to celebrate the personalities and see the personalities of the players and see their relationships as well, which is just, look, from a fan point of view, I like seeing people get on that play together. I don't care what you want to call me for that. I just like to see it. It's just nice. I don't know. I just like nice things. Allow me this. So it was cool to see these relationships where people evidently clearly do genuinely get on with each other, enjoy playing with each other, enjoy working with each other. And they got to experience that. And talking to players at the start of it, they were like, this is kind of like college, but it's kind of cooler because we're older, but it's kind of mad because there's the opposition team's executives just in that room, like looking at you. I don't know. I enjoyed it. I loved every minute of this. It's been awesome. And yeah, it was properly up in the air. And a lot of awful things happened before the season. And I think a lot of great things have come because of the season. One issue, though, Brianna Turner was murdered over 230 days ago now. And that's still left unresolved in the eyes of a lot of people. And I think myself included.
Definitely.
They did a wonderful thing, the WNBA this season, and it's been an absolute pleasure to be able to talk about it. Kaz, what are you doing next Thursday, mate?
What am I doing? I think I might be on the Kaz and Dad show next Thursday.
Bloody hell, mate. Kaz and Dad show, bringing you women's basketball chat from around Europe, around the world. Make sure you join us then. Make sure you set it in your calendar. Same time, same place. Focus Hoops, Facebook, YouTube, all those usual places for the Kaz and Daz show. Tipping off next Thursday. We've had an absolute blast. Thank you so much for joining us. Thank you so much to our partners, Notch, as well, for supporting the show. Make sure you support them like they support us. Get down, check out their link in the description. Go and buy yourself a beautiful Notch bracelet. And we'll see you next week for the Kaz and Daz show. We'll speak to you next week.